A very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on a Sunday evening. It's almost 24 hours after the game against Arsenal. And I wanted to do this reflection. I always do the following day, do a video to reflect on the game to see if my views had changed in any way from those that I expressed in the review I did straight after the game on Saturday. And by and large, my views haven't really altered that much, to be quite fair with you. Now, if you're new to the channel, first time that you've come across the West Ham Voice, or if you've watched this channel before but yet to become a subscriber, please do become a subscriber of the channel. And whether you are a subscriber or not, or an existing subscriber, please do hit the like button as well. Now, let's get one thing into perspective straight away, especially for any Arsenal fans who might be watching this video, because some of their fans did watch the review like I did last night and told me that I was moaning because we're not on Arsenal's level. We should know our place. We were just looking for excuses because we got beat, etc., etc. So for the record, for Arsenal fans, Arsenal were likely to beat us regardless. They are a much better side than West Ham are, by and large. They're managed better, they're better coached and better organised than we are. So there, I hope that sets the record straight, because what I'm about to say won't make many Arsenal fans happy. There are some big buts to that statement. There were a number of talking points from the game last night that absolutely have to be addressed. And the first one is the way that Arsenal have been trained, encouraged, coerced, I don't know, whatever word you want to use use the dark arts in football. The rolling around on the floor as if they've been shot, to always hold their heads as if they had always had head injuries, regardless of where the knock may have been picked up, to delay on playing by taking an age to take corners, free kicks, goal kicks, throw-ons, you name it. So basically, they've been trained on how to cheat. Because let's be honest and let's call it for what it is. When you do go down on the floor as if you've been it's amazing how many of the players went down on the floor. And then I think Martinelli, was it Martin or Havertz? I can't remember which one. I think it was Havertz in one part of the game, went down lying there. And as soon as Arsenal got the ball and it looked like they were going to break, he was up sprightly as if he was ready to go. You know, and it's cheating. No matter how you want to portray it, it's cheating. And in the match last night against West Ham, they were allowed to get away with it over and over again. And you know what? They absolutely don't need to resort to playing that type of game. There's simply no need for it. They have talent in abundance. They're a very, very good side. And me personally, being a bit old school, I've got zero respect for any team that has been trained to carry out such tactics. It's cheating, plain and simple. But the worst part of it is that the officials on the night didn't stamp it out. And the officials across football per se don't stamp out this cheating. Because I'll tell you something, if officials started to brandish yellow cards and then red cards for that kind of cheating, for time wasting, for rolling around when they're not really injured, etc., it will be stamped out. It needs to be stamped out of our football. I lost count at the number of times Antony Taylor went rushing over to the Arsenal player who was on the ground to see if he was okay. Because I tell you, in the game that I watched, he didn't do any of that when a West Ham player went down under any challenge. But then we come down to the next issue that needs to be addressed. And that is the officiating of Antony Taylor and his linesman in the game last night. It was absolutely abysmal, to the point of my suggesting that Taylor should be reported to the FA, the Premier League, and the PGMOL, the Professional Game Match Officials Limited, that referees are part of. They should be reported, almost to the point of match fixing. I'm serious, and I'm not joking. You know, you can call it sour grapes, you can call it me being bitter, because 24 hours later, I still feel upset about the officiating of that game. There were so many incidents in last night's game to suggest that Taylor was extremely biased towards Arsenal, and it felt at times that West Ham were really, really playing against 12 men. And if you want proof of this, then you've only got to look at a number of game-changing moments to realise that serious questions need to be asked whether the Premier League referees are biased or not. Now, the first incident was Arsenal's first goal. Lucas Paqueta was assigned to defend the near post, and as the ball was floated across from a corner, Jurriën Timber literally ran into Paqueta from the back, pushed him out of the way to afford Gabriel a free header. That was an infringement, and it was clearly a free kick. But it wasn't given. The goal was given, and that set the tone of the officiating throughout the whole game. Then the next incident was Arsenal's first penalty, one of the softest penalties you're likely to be seen given. And Bukayo Saka has got form. Despite all his qualities, he goes down at the slightest of touches, and he did that against West Ham yesterday. I've watched that penalty over and over from the replays. I can't believe, many are going to argue it was a clear pen. But for me, in all honesty, and it's not being blinkered with my West Ham glasses on, for me, that was a soft penalty. VAR concluded that there was sufficient contact to award the penalty. Yet we've seen over the course of the season that there has been much more contact in the penalty box, and yet VAR have concluded that there's been insufficient contact in most cases, or in some cases. So the inconsistency in the officiating is not only on the pitch with the referee and the linesman, it's off the pitch as well with VAR, and it's getting worse. Then I have to throw in, I've got to be honest, and I'm going to be fair, I've got to throw in the free kick that we were given when Emerson scored the goal, when Emerson scored the free kick. Declan Rice got the ball, so one has to question whether that free kick should have been awarded. But that was one decision throughout the whole game that went West Ham's way. And then you've got to look at the second penalty. Now, the game stopped because we thought that Gabriel got a knock and etc. And then, once he got up, game will carry on. I didn't realize, it took me quite a while, and I stand right behind the goal. It took me quite a while to realize that the ref had given them another penalty just when we were getting the momentum into getting back into the game. Well, it probably wouldn't have come to anything if it had been 4-2 at half time rather than 5-2. But they were awarded that penalty, and there's been a number of different angles that have been shown of that challenge on Gabriel from Fabianski. Fabianski got a touch on the ball. Now, in that instant, you give the goalkeeper the benefit of the doubt, but that didn't happen. And one could argue again that perhaps Arsenal should have been, West Ham should have had a free kick, because Gabriel was all over Kilman in order to get that high up in the first place. All right, VAR deemed it. Ironically, VAR didn't award a penalty. It was Taylor that wanted a review, and then VAR gave it. So I don't know. If we get to the point of football now where a goalie can't challenge for the ball by trying to punch the ball, then contact sport in football is well and truly finished. Fabianski got the ball. Yes, all right, he got the player. But like I said, in a 50-50, you give the keeper the benefit of the doubt. Now, look, the Premier League is always quoted as being the best league in the world. But alas, the officiating has got to rank as one of the worst. And it is no surprise that fans regularly suggest that there is an element of bias and perhaps corruption that seems to go unchallenged. The massive irony over all this is that Arsenal fans believe that they're hard done by. Well, if you're going to play dirty, as if if you're going to cheat your way through a game by diving and rolling around on the floor and wasting time, etc. And if you're going to rely on the refs to side with you, then you've got to accept it when the same happens to you. All right, I've got the rant over. Now, the final part of all this is the way we performed as a team. So let's not kid ourselves. I'll reiterate that despite the cheating of Arsenal, and despite the corruptness of Antony Taylor, We wouldn't have got anything from this game anyway. We would have got beaten anyway. The way we were set up, look, you could tell that it wasn't going to be our night. But I don't understand what happened to West Ham, because when you look at the game against Newcastle, the same team was set out, same team, but the tactics were completely different. We were a shadow of ourselves as we were against Newcastle on Monday. All right, Arsenal are an infinitely better team than Newcastle, but still, our approach to the game was completely wrong. We looked scared. We looked afraid to be playing Arsenal. We looked as if we were expecting to be thumped. And we only woke up when the score was 4-0 after just over half an hour or so. So no matter how bad the officiating was, West Ham United should never have been 4 goals down at home at around about the half-hour spot. We were desperately poor. We backed off when we shouldn't have done. We gave them so much freedom of the park to play their natural game. We allowed them to control the tempo. And then, of course, we pressed too high and exposed ourselves at the back. It happened against Man City, Chelsea, Nottingham Forest, and various other teams throughout this season. And yet we did the same against Arsenal at home. We were woefully exposed for their 4th goal, scored by Kai Havertz, when the ball was just literally floated over the top and Kilman was way out of position in order to be able to defend it. Kilman, who's been pretty decent so far this season for West Ham, was woefully exposed on several occasions throughout the game. And the frailties of previous games came back to haunt us. Our defense was way too high. It just didn't work. We know it doesn't work. So we don't understand, any of us, why Lopetegui set us up to play in that way yet again against a team that's very good on the ball. Why we changed the approach on our tactics on Saturday to what we did last Monday is beyond me. The second half was a practice match for both teams because it was over. Arsenal didn't need to exert any more energy in scoring any more goals. And West Ham knew that a 3-goal deficit was probably too much to come back from. So what now of Lopetegui? Now, whilst fans are screaming for his dismissal, we know that that's not going to happen. It was never going to happen, given that it didn't happen during the international break, when many fans thought that that was the ideal time for it to do so. It certainly wasn't going to happen after the Newcastle and Arsenal games, because the board would have gone, well, big tests, so we'll see what happens there. But some social media platforms are now suggesting that Lopetegui has got 2 games to save his job. And by and large, that may be true. I don't know. But as I've said on several occasions, I think the board are going to give him, whether you like it or not, I think the board are going to give him up until and including the Southampton game on Boxing Day to decide what happens next. Now, we get a couple of decent results and a couple of decent performances in the next 5 games, and the board will probably think that it's sufficient enough to keep Lopetegui on. Lose badly to any of the 5 teams that we play next, and I think the board will probably pull the trigger. For me personally, I've seen glimpses of what Lopetegui's aiming to do, but it isn't enough. Even the game against Newcastle, I don't want to call it a full storm, but, we were apprehensive, weren't we? We were pleased with the result, but it's just not, sorry about that. There's no consistency there anymore. It's not enough for us. We need to see more consistency. So in that respect, I said it before the Arsenal game. I said it before the Newcastle game, that I think Lopetegui should have been changing his tactics. Stop playing the high line. Stop playing possession-based football. Go for, I'm not talking about, going for a low block and so on, but play a bit more of a counter-attacking game and play the mid-block. Do what Nottingham Forest have done, because so far it's been good for them. December is going to be a very, very interesting month. We've got 5 games that I don't even know if they are winnable against the likes of Wolves and away to Leicester. We've got Bournemouth in that time as well. Southampton, as I've mentioned. These games are not just automatically winnable. They're going to be tough. But it's going to be a big challenge for Lopetegui, because if he continues to carry on the way he has, it's much like David Moyes was. He was Moyes lost himself his job because he didn't change, whereas he could have tweaked it in order to stay at West Ham as a manager. Lopetegui is on that road. If he doesn't change it, if he doesn't tweak it, and it is tweaks, stop playing the high line, play a bit more counter-attacking. Don't rely on it being possession-based football. It doesn't have to be. I don't mind if it's less possession but more wins. I've always said that, even under Moyes. But it's going to be a tough month. It's going to be a very interesting month. Do I think Lopetegui is going to get through it? He might do by the skin of his teeth, but I don't really think it's going to be enough. For me, I don't want to be that doom merchant. You know what I'm like. I try to be, much more positive. But at this moment in time, I just can't see that we're going to get through this season without getting another tonking or two. And that's been the biggest disappointment. We conceded so many goals. What was it? 70-odd goals, 74 goals last season. We could end up conceding almost as many this season, and it's not good. Right, I'll be back again. I'll do a preview of the West Ham Leicester game that I'm going to on Tuesday night. Obviously, there's going to be the West Ham Weekly on Monday night, so look out for those shows as well. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, if you've been watching this channel and you're not yet a subscriber, do consider becoming a subscriber. But either way, subscriber or not, or existing subscriber, please do hit that like button. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a good rest of the weekend, what's left of it, and I'll see you all soon.